This morning, we did not have a work session last week. It was Veterans Day, so this will serve as our work session for our 10 o'clock meeting this morning. We will have two proclamations from the mayor, lung cancer awareness and National Hospice and Palliative Care at the beginning of the meeting. First agenda item is approval of monthly bills. Approve October 2024 monthly bills. Any questions? Approval of minutes, October 28th, 2024, 5 p.m. council work session, November 4th, 2024, 5:40. We're a little late on that one. PM council work session, and November 4th, 2024, 6 p.m. council meeting. Any questions? All right, set public hearings, resolution 24-267, set public hearing for abatement of unsafe conditions at 25 Old Trinity Road Northwest for Monday, December 2nd, 2024 at 6 p.m.
Yeah, I think this is the first reading for this one. So it's been an unsafe building. It's actually collapsed. There's a plethora of heirs to the property, and nobody's wanting to maintain it. So we just ask for your permission to move forward with demolition.
Okay, any questions? Public hearings, resolution 24095, approve abatement of unsafe conditions at 425 Vine Street Northwest. Public hearing was tabled to November 18th, 2024.
Yeah, no changes on this one.
Is this, if you don't mind coming, is this the one, which one was this and why did we table it?
So this is Al Robertson's.
It's Al. Okay. So there's been no new plans?
No changes. We've attempted contact several times. Haven't heard from him.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Resolution 24268, approved request for off-premise beer and wine license for MK Stores Incorporated, doing business as First Stop, Last Stop at 4702 Danville Road, Hartsville, Alabama 35640.
Yeah, this is a change in ownership.
Any questions? Ordinance 244594, approved zoning ordinance rewrite and zoning map. Public hearing was tabled to November 18th, 2024.
Yeah, good morning, council. This is a presentation of the zoning ordinance, and the amendments were given last week.
All right, any questions?
Yeah, I've got one. I know when talking with Tommy, he was a little hesitant about fully implementing in January 1st. Is that still ringing true?
Well, I think if we're...
It is how it's written.
There's ways that if it's implemented January 1st, we'll work it out internally on responsibilities, and we'll be fine.
I guess to that point, though, if we don't table the whole thing, I do think that that's a challenge. I mean, that's a pretty quick turnaround, but right, it is what it is.
Just a point of information, I heard discussion about waiting till a director is hired, and that's going to be a lengthy process. And then once the person comes on board, everything that they'll be trying to learn coming on board, and then going through that 700 page document or 400. Okay. A lot to take in there, so it's really going to push it on out.
Yeah. Any other discussion or questions? I'm sure there will be some after 10 o'clock. All right, ordinance 244595, pre-zoning request 142524, 2612 Old Moulton Road, Southwest.
Yeah, this is the pre-zoning request for the lot on Old Moulton Road that is coming in, yeah.
All right, any questions? All right, weed abatements. Josh, anything of note?
No changes on these.
All right, any questions? All right, skipping to resolutions. Resolution 24279, approve extension of special use permit for Verizon Wireless to modify equipment located on an existing tower located at 4216C, Highway 31 South. I don't see David, but...
Yeah, that's just basically they need more time to get the project.
Okay. Any...
And our consultant recommends the extension.
Any questions? Resolution 24-253, award bid number 24036 to North Alabama Glass for 7th floor office wall, and resolution 24-258, approve 7th floor renovations for Court Payment Center. Herman or anybody?
I guess hearing that there's might be more favor in actually now purchasing the building that the payment center is in. Is that?
Yeah, and Herman and I talked before. We're working on getting an inspection.
Yes, it's just not ready today, but yeah, Kurt Johnson is working toward getting, there's at least 2 different ones we could choose from, or he can.
How long do we have to accept these bids if we were to accept them?
They're good for 30 days.
So we're,
If we table it, we could table, or has it already been a month?
We tabled once, and so we're probably getting close.
yeah, I don't think we could again unless we had a
Decide to
special.
go that route.
You can accept the judge has any thoughts.
Yeah, Judge Golson, do you have any thoughts on that other than what you've shared?
Good morning, Council. Takesha Golston, Director and Municipal Court Judge. Obviously, any opportunity that we have to get our team under one roof, I'm open to those possibilities. However, staying where we are, I have no issue with that. That process works well. We're always just looking at a way to work better. So if that's where it's going, I don't have any issues with that. The setup is fine. It's perfect for what we need to do. It's just that any opportunity that we have to be under one roof and have the opportunity to work a little bit more efficiently and serve the public a little bit better, I'm always going to be open to those opportunities. But I'm always going to be open to the opportunity to stay as well. That's, again, the setup, it works, and it's a good setup for us. So
I do. I think we should try to purchase the property if it's acceptable. I think if the inspection comes back and the price is acceptable, which the one I heard seems to be. But I do think the challenges that you talked about, more so both for your team, especially for our citizens that are using municipal or have to confer with people and how crowded it can get up there. We need to try to find a way to alleviate some of that. So I will, if the inspection is good, support purchasing the building, but we still need to find some ways to try to, if there's a way to move some folks around or something to help people on the second floor.
well, we certainly appreciate that, and we'll always be open to those opportunities.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments on that? All right, Resolution 24-280, approve rollover of funding for previously approved items and projects.
Morning, Council. This is just some standard housekeeping we do every year. These are projects that have been approved by Council previously. Some go back multiple years ago. And what this does is it rolls the budget over. So when we do expense the costs, the budget is there to match it.
Speaking of doing every year, you do this mustache thing every year.
It's for Movember, Men's Health Awareness. Glad you want to talk about it.
Any questions on the rollover? All right, Resolution 24-281, approve amendment to Merit System Rule 8. My Roman numerals.
Yeah. So there's a long-standing merit system rule that every employee, full-time or part-time, endpoint Mallard is paid at straight hourly rate. That is really not where we need to be. So this is an amendment to the merit system. So if they're a full-time employee, they are paid time and a half under the FLSA regulations. This changes the act that governed it originally. And that's been budgeted, and it needs to happen, and this is housekeeping.
All right, any questions? All right, Resolution 24-282, approve one-time holiday pay increase.
It's our annual holiday event where every employee in the city gets $100.
Any questions? Resolution 24-283, approve one-time pay increase wellness participation.
Again, this is in recognition of those employees who recognize and embrace the importance of our annual wellness requirement with local government to keep our health increase or our health rates minimum. And only the folks who participated are eligible.
Any questions? All right, resolution 24-284, authorize mayor to accept public use and maintenance of Valley Park North Phase 1, plat book 2024, page 4.
Yeah, this is a subdivision that's been substantially complete, and we've inspected it. We're ready to accept it for use and maintenance.
Any questions? And resolution 24-285, authorize mayor to accept public use and maintenance for Legacy Cove Phase 1, plat book 2021, page 33.
Same thing.
Any questions? Resolution 24-286, authorize the mayor to apply for EPA change grant for Rhodes Ferry Park. Alan?
Yes, this is a grant opportunity that has been presented to the city. NARCOG and Visitors Bureau and Downtown Redevelopment all met and come to the decision that NARCOG would make this application. It is a maximum of $20,000, and it'll be to $20 million to renovate and improve, reimagine is what we're saying, Rhodes Ferry Park. And NARCOG would be the, they're going to administer, or they would administer the grant if awarded. And it is for construction only. There's been some discussions going back and forth about some different things, but this would be for construction. And there is a statutory agreement. This grant requires a CBO, which is a community-based organization, to partner with the city, and that community-based organization would be Mountain Rivers and Valley, Renona, Cyber. So this would also allow the mayor to enter into that statutory agreement with Mountain Rivers and Valleys.
Okay, any questions? All right, resolution 24-287, authorize mayor to approve proposal from Red Sage. And we'll do a presentation at the end, but when we went through the budget process, this was one of the things that we didn't put in to basically get to our zero, and I told you guys we would bring this back before year end to pitch it to potentially fund for next year. So that's what this is, and we'll see the presentation here in a few minutes. Resolution 24, or any questions on that? Okay. Resolution 24-288, approve rescheduling of the December 2nd, 2024, 5:30 p.m. council work session and 6 p.m. council meeting to Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024, and this is, I think, Christmas parade related. Any questions? All right, ordinances, first reading, ordinance 24-4597, declare surplus and sell 718 Sykes Street to Gregory and Deborah Lynch.
Yes, this is just a piece of property that the city owns that the Lynches has requested purchasing. It is next to the house that they are they're in the process of completing new construction that they've just built on Sykes Street. And he's looking at constructing another house on these two. He's already purchased one lot. This would be the second lot. He would combine those, and he has not. We did not require him to pay a deposit, but if y'all chose to do a double vote today, that probably wouldn't hurt. But if you wanted to wait, that's fine too.
Okay. Any questions? Ordinance 24-459A, change definition of lounge and alcoholic beverage chapter.
Yeah, that was a request by the Downtown Redevelopment Association, some merchants. Presently, in order to have a lounge, you have to have 1,000 square feet. This would move it to a minimum of 500 square feet and able to serve 15 people at one time, and that's the change.
Which matches the state standard, correct?
I'm not sure about, the state doesn't necessarily require. It was our own standard, which under the zoning ordinance we could do. But this just allows gives some more flexibility.
All right, any questions? All right, I will invite Red Sage to go through the presentation before we end the work session, and then we'll be ready.
Mayor, Councilman,
Happy Monday to you. Thank you for letting us be here. So my name is Ellen Didier. I'm president of Red Sage Communications. I've lived in Decatur for 30 years, been active in the community for much of that time. My company, I own Red Sage Communications, and we oversee and produce Positively Decatur on behalf of the city. So what I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about the background, remind you where we were before it started, and talk to you a bit about the results that we've seen in the 3 years that we've produced this campaign. So if we can go to the first thing. So yeah, just want to talk about what it was. What was its purpose? What has it done? Why are we doing it? Why do we think it should be a priority for the city? So I want to go back to before Positively Decatur. And I'd been active in the community for quite some time, and I can't tell you the number of community meetings with community leaders and other residents that were frustrated by the tone of the perception of Decatur as presented in the media. Our community had gone through some challenges, getting a lot of negative media coverage at the time. Our population growth had been stagnant for 20 years, and while other communities around us were growing. There was definitely a frustration that Decatur really was not seen fairly either internally by its own residents or externally. So really looking at moving fast forward to One Decatur, the strategic plan for the city, this was a plan that was developed through extensive input from the residents of Decatur, and branding the community was identified as a priority because of the struggle with perception, because of flat population growth. So after that, Big Communications was hired by the city. I was delighted with this. It's a large agency in Birmingham to do branding for the city. As you probably remember, that did not go well, which is unfortunate because it was in the strategic plan, and I think it was the right thing. But I really firmly believed that we've just got to tell our stories. And I approached the city mayor. I talked to you about it, and I talked to a few other of the sitting councilmen at the time, that it doesn't change. The strategic plan was right. It was based on community input that did not go away because we weren't successful with the first branding initiative. And it's just very, very important to continue to tell our stories. So we proposed Positively Decatur not as a branding thing, but let's just tell the stories that celebrate what makes Decatur great, because there are so many things that make Decatur great, starting with its people, its diversity, the arts, the history. I could go on and on. So if we could move forward. When branding was named a priority, well, actually, I've gone through all of that too, so let's go to the next one. So what were the goals? The first goal was to increase the positive perception and awareness of Decatur. One of the things that Big Communications did when they did the branding for the city was they contracted with an outside research house. And in that research house, they did a survey of people in the community and outside the community. And sadly, Decatur was kind of dangling towards the end in a lot of those measures in both perception. So we had a perception problem. And the goal of this was really, let's change that. Let's build community pride and remind the people that live here all the amazing things that are in this community. There's so much growth that's happening. Red Sage did not create that growth, but we could celebrate the growth. So sharing the growth, the positivity, the momentum, downtown redevelopment, the things that are happening in our schools, CEO, Decatur Morgan CEO, there's just so many great things about this community that we could talk about that people aren't even aware are here. Building the sense of pride and unity, bringing people together. I think that's been one of the things that's been most amazing about this. Being able to tell the stories about Judge Horton's home coming back to the community, being able to tell the stories of Outlet Stage Company was our last one. So many great stories about different aspects of our community, and they truly have been representative of our entire community. We'll tell you more about those in a moment. But really, the other goal was, in addition to the building of the perception and building internal pride, how can we really promote externally to the community for people who may be looking for options for where to live in North Alabama, either people in Huntsville or really anywhere in North Alabama, or people moving in from other areas. So a big part of this campaign after year one turned into also how do we really promote residential development to continue to build the tax base and grow our population. So those were the goals. It was important to us that the stories were representative of the entire community. And so what we did was we formed a stakeholders group that meets regularly and invited organizations that touch just about every aspect of our community to help us identify the stories that we could tell. So we have a representative from the council, of course, one Decatur representatives, but we have tourism, the hospital, Decatur City Schools is represented by the foundation, economic development, United Way and the nonprofits, the East Center, downtown redevelopment, a lot of the organizations that are responsible for key services or key development within the city. So they've been really, really instrumental in helping us make sure that we covered the entire community with the stories. We also have a forum on the website that allows community members to submit their own story ideas, and we get submissions regularly. We just got one on Friday again. So going into what it looks like, hopefully most of you have seen this, but it's bright, it's vivid, and the stakeholder community to organize the stories decided let's really identify 10 characteristics that make Decatur great, that make us unique. So the characteristics are entrepreneurial. We're routinely one of the state, number one in the state or number two in the state for the number of incubator tenants, graduates of incubator, very entrepreneurial community for our size. We're very diverse, one of the most diverse communities in the state, which I think is a strength. Creative, all the arts that are happening here, there's no surprise. There's some really cool people here. We've been telling those stories. Very caring. I've heard that over and over through the years as well, that there's more nonprofits, more churches, and more people really looking for a way to give back. Fun. I mean, Point Mallard, I go to the music, singer-songwriters at the Princess. There's a lot of great things to do here. Good living. Historic, all of the history here. Judge Breland does a lot of sharing of that history along with others. A lot of things outdoors, Wheeler Wildlife Refuge, and trailblazing, yes, so ULA, nation's first wave pool, so many amazing things that have happened here that we've paved the way. Scottsboro Boys, with Judge Horton's ruling, went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and now we have jury trials of your peers because of that, happened in Decatur. So our stories are all tagged with one of these characteristics or multiple, sometimes they span multiple characteristics. And it's been a really good way to organize and kind of give us a common set of characteristics that make us unique. So that's kind of what's governing all of the stories.
Good morning, Council. I'm Sarah Macaluso, the agency's VP of Client Experience and Strategy. I'm going to take just a brief moment to give you a little bit more detail about our strategy from year 1, 2, and proposed into 3. So as Ellen talked about, our primary goal in year 1 was just to get this campaign and this effort off the ground. You saw the look that was developed, a lot of strategy and discussion with the stakeholders went behind the look, the feel, and the message that you will hear us talk about today. So connecting community members was our number 1 goal in year 1, was get this campaign off the ground and get it recognized among the community. Our core audience in year 1 was specifically hyper-local to community members here in the city. Our strategy, you can see here on the screen, I talked about we audited that research that was done previously with Big Communications and took the findings of that and translated it into the strategy in our campaign year 1. We developed the theme, logo, website, the social channels that you guys see online on Facebook and Instagram that Ellen alluded to earlier. We met with those stakeholders, held several planning meetings, and then we got to work in terms of posting content for Positively Decatur on social channels and got right down to storytelling. That was the number 1 initiative, letting the creative material and the videos really impact people digitally. So we did produce 1 video per month at that year 1. We also included several stories online. So video was just one medium, but then we transferred that onto blogs on the Positively Decatur website, as well as solicited community members to author their own guest blog on behalf of Positively Decatur, bringing in a unique perspective from community members across the city. At that time in year 1, we did work with a city employee to help coordinate and schedule those stories, but I'll bring your attention just to the bottom line here and some KPIs in terms of key results that we achieved year 1. 1. We launched the brand in April 2022 to the public. We produced 10 videos over that first year, 24 stories posted in a single year on the Positively Decatur website, spanning all of those characteristics that Ellen talked about just a slide ago. We had 88 positive media articles added to the website. What we found that despite there being some challenging coverage, there was a lot of good news about Decatur as well that just wasn't being shared. So Positively Decatur was a vehicle to do that. And we did that with 5,100 Facebook followers, people from the community that bought in, that were interested on that year 1 to follow along with us. So if we go to years 2 and 3, our primary goal stays the same in terms of building on success of year 1, but really reaching out beyond city limits in year 2, tackling that residential growth initiative from the One Decatur plan. So our audience did change to the North Alabama region, as far south as Coleman. And our strategy to achieve that was deploying a Google search campaign. So everyone will probably know when you go to search for something at the top of Google, you'll see some paid ads that show up there. And those ads were going to be served to those who were looking for places to live in and near North Alabama, and positioning Decatur, Alabama at the top of the list for people to take interest in when it comes to looking for a place to live. We continued in years 2 and 3 to develop stories and advertising content that got below the surface level of the story. Hopefully you guys have seen perhaps our stories about Big Bob Gibson's, a local icon and favorite, but not just about the legacy of Big Bob's. We've actually spoken to employees who have worked there for 30 plus years and telling their story and what it means to live in Decatur for them and have a wonderful employer in Big Bob Gibson's. We did pause our posting from October 2023 to March 2024 out of respect for the Perkins family and our community, though we did keep producing videos behind the scenes. Now I'll pass it to one of my colleagues, Erin Schnackenberg, who's an account executive with us here at Red Sage, to give you more detail about our tactics.
Good morning. I would like to give you guys just a little bit of an idea of the things that we're doing on a regular basis to support those goals that Ellen and Sarah talked about earlier. Because community pride does not happen overnight, residential growth does not happen overnight. So each year we are continuing to build on past successes. And I really feel like, especially in these last 8 months or so since we have come back from the content pause, we've really hit our stride with these monthly video storytelling and our monthly social media management as well. So for those monthly videos, we are identifying a story, we are coordinating, and then we are going to a shoot, a half-a-day shoot usually, where we are conducting interviews, gathering B-roll to produce a really high-quality storytelling video. And we post that on the website and on our social media channels. And then we also write an accompanying blog with that video, because sometimes we can't always tell the entire story in that 1 minute and 30-second video. So that blog kind of allows us to dig a little deeper. And then we are also identifying a community member to work with us to write a guest blog to tell their story in their own words. And we are sharing that on our website and socials as well. In addition to that, we are gathering content for 14 organic social media posts a month, including 4 videos. So in addition to that storytelling video, we are producing 3 more short form or reels for social media as well. And then we are monitoring those posts, engaging with the people that are engaging with us on socials, and then we are providing advanced results reporting as well. With that, we also have some flexible support hours each month. We are using those for storytelling ideation, additional planning, additional asset gathering, video production, things like that. We are engaging with community members to help us with content. There's usually some additional graphic design or ad designs that we do, but a big chunk of that is website updates and optimizations. And then we are meeting quarterly with our stakeholders and going over the previous quarter, what we have done. We're gathering feedback, we're presenting results, and you guys will get a taste of that here in just a little bit. And then they're helping us plan and identify stories for the next quarter as well. But that's not all. We also have paid advertising efforts to support residential growth. Each quarter, we are designing 4 new ads. One set of these is going to be focused on that community pride goal and targeted towards Morgan County. And the other set is going to be that residential growth goal. And those ads are targeted outside of Morgan County, and those are designed to send people to the website where they can learn more about schools, about real estate, anything that they would like to know about Decatur. And as Sarah said, this year we deployed that Google search ad tactic, which has been extremely successful. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. But Sarah kind of explained how that works. But the other thing that we have done is opened that up outside of northern Alabama to include places like Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, because we know that people are coming here for government jobs and they don't know anything about this area, so they're Googling where to live near Redstone Arsenal. And we want Decatur to pop up and be one of those things that they see. And you'll see an example here of one of those ads, what that would look like when that pops up in Google. So we're offering several ways for them to go back to our website to learn more about neighborhoods, schools, things to do, some of the awards and rankings, and so on and so forth. Next slide, please. And this is your team behind all of those projects. There are several of us that are from Decatur. Ellen, of course. We've got Raina, Pam, and Alex are also from Decatur. And then you've got Sarah and I, who are from Huntsville, but I assure you that we are just as invested in this project as the rest of them. And the reason why I really want to show you this slide is to answer any question that anyone might have about whether or not the city could just hire a marketing person and do all these things internally. The answer would be no. You'd have to hire 10 to 15 people to do the things that we are doing on the caliber of what we are doing. I mentioned a lot of us are local, but we do have some people on this slide that are from Texas, from North Carolina. Why? Because they are the best at what they do, and that's why we have them working on these projects. So that is something that Red Sage can do, is leverage that talent for our clients that you would not be able to do with an in-house team. Okay, so now that you know a little bit about what we do, I want to show you a little bit of Positively Decatur in action. This slide here gives you a little snapshot of some of the stories that we are producing. You will see a big range of diverse stories, anything from the milk bar there, which is a story about a infant support feeding group. Almost anywhere you can find a breastfeeding support group, but only in Decatur, Alabama, can you find a support group that not only offers support for breastfeeding mothers, but formula feeding mothers, combination feeding mothers. And that's something that is very special, and that's kind of inclusiveness is the stories that we want to tell. You will see stories about local artists, about local businesses, about history. We've got Francis Tate and Peggy Towns there, about the Civil Rights Museum that they are building from the ground up. We've got the story of the Baguettes, a young family who moved here to Decatur to work and to grow their family. The story is why Decatur and why they love it. So there are several stories. Another one, Janelle Brown there, she took a online bookstore concept and turned it into a brick and mortar for the downtown community. And all of those stories are important, and they're all special to Decatur. This is a slide of some of our top content. The first one that you will see here came from the shoot that we did at Big Bob Gibson's. I interviewed Terrence and Miss Lou there, and that interview did not make it into the long-form video that we posted about Big Bob Gibson's. But I'm sure many of you probably know Miss Lou. They've been in the Decatur community for a very long time. She was very hard to get on camera, and it is one of my crowning accomplishments that I was able to get her to speak on camera. So this was a very special video. So we were able, very special interview. So we were able to turn that into its own story. And you'll see that is the best post to date that we have posted on socials, with 580 likes, 54 comments, 111 shares, and over 24,000 people have seen that post. The next one was a guest blog by Jeff Sharp, the founder of Everyday Sunshine. He has a very heartwarming story about starting a nonprofit to not only benefit, but to employ people with disabilities. He deserves to be celebrated. He's a wonderful person to have a part of your community, and that is what most of those comments all said. They were all very proud to have somebody like that within the Decatur community. And that post reached over 19,000 people. The next one is one of my favorite posts. We've all seen those murals all over town. They're beautiful, but not a lot of people know the story behind them, and that's what this post did. It shared who the artist is, why they painted it, and the meaning behind it. And so many people commented on that, just thanking us for sharing those details because they had no idea. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Sarah to talk about some of the results.
All right. So if we progress to the next slide, you guys will see a chart with a lot of numbers, and I'm only going to touch on a few of them. First and foremost, up to this point, since April 2022, so just over two and a half years or so, we have a total of over 11,000 Facebook followers who have chosen to follow Positively Decatur. You can look at that as about a sixth of the community. The population of Decatur is now invested, interested, engaged, and bought in to Positively Decatur. We have a total unique visits to the website. So these are individual users. Over 45,000 people have seen the Positively Decatur website and the messaging that shares the greatness about Decatur. We have 10 hours, just over 10 hours of total videos watched among the people who have seen our storytelling videos. And those Google ads, those search ads we were talking about that really get to the heart of the residential growth goal of the One Decatur plan. We have 22,000 clicks that have come from those ads alone to the Why Live in Decatur page on the Positively Decatur website. If we advance to the next page, we'll talk a little bit about year-over-year growth on organic social media. This is on the Positively Decatur Facebook and Instagram page. Special note that we started from a baseline of 0 across all measures in 2022, since this was a brand new initiative. And you can see year over year in audience engagement and impressions, we have double-digit growth. And for any of you marketing buffs in the room, that's very hard to achieve year over year. Recent results in terms of social media advertising. These are those ads that are going out to both Morgan County and across the region, talking about how great Decatur is and also aiming at building community pride at the hyperlocal level. One number I want to call to your attention, you can see our most recent quarter there at the top, bold. Impressions, meaning how many sets of eyes have seen those ads. So we're achieving just over 700,000 times that those ads have been seen. We've reached 240,000 unique individual people. But the best piece of this, in my opinion, is that we have shared positivity about Decatur with 700,000 people for a conservative $3.93 a person. Can't get that with a billboard. Advancing to Google search ads, we talked about the goal is to reach people outside of Morgan County who have displayed an interest in living in North Alabama, and we are driving them to the page on the Positively Decatur site titled Why Live in Decatur. We have targeted areas across North Alabama, and we've most recently added a geographic target of Washington, D.C., cities in Virginia, Georgia, and Florida. We would not have been able to make this educated adaptation to the targets without our stakeholder group and working very closely with the Chamber of Commerce and the economic development groups and having them give us feedback and saying, here's where we are hearing people come from. So this stakeholder group that we have at the table to help push this initiative forward has been invaluable. The Washington, D.C. area in particular was just added in July and already has 1,300 clicks and about 15,000 impressions to date. If we advance and talk about the website, this is really where we see the impact of those search ads with that residential growth focus come to life. The Why Live in Decatur page is the #1 most viewed page from the website as a whole. If we look at quarter over quarter growth, this most recent quarter compared to last, we're seeing double-digit increases in website traffic. We have 11,000 new users who have come just in 3 months alone to that page. We have 400% of new users to the website when we compare this period to the same period of last year. And the engagement rate is also up 34%. So, not to bore you all, but we're up across the board in every single metric and by double digits. We know people are bought in, they're interested, and we're targeting the people who are most interested in learning more about Decatur and routing them to the information that they need to learn more about. Now, Erin's going to take us back and talk a little bit about the feedback we're getting from the community.
So numbers are great. We all love numbers, but it's comments and engagement, like you're seeing on this slide, that I think really shows the impact of the campaign and how we are doing. The first one there you'll see is a video that we did about Michael Smitherman. He moved to Decatur in order to realize his dreams of owning a restaurant. He is not from Decatur. He moved here, and you can see from just this snapshot of a few of the comments just how the community has welcomed him with open arms. So many comments congratulating him, saying, "I love your positive energy. I need to go try your food." You'll see the comment down here in orange. That is from the Alabama Center for the Arts video that we did. The comment in pink is on that Decatur murals post that I showed you earlier. And the comment down there in purple is on a residential growth post. Decatur is a great place to live with room for everyone. Let's love our neighbors even if we don't always see eye to eye. That is the very essence of this campaign. And you'll see another post here that we did on socials. This was a local artist who exhibited at the River City Clay Festival, and she won an award. Again, there's a small snapshot of responses on that post. People congratulating her, telling her how lovely her art is, people who want to purchase her art. So that just kind of goes to show you how, we are not just working for the city of Decatur. We are working for the entire community. We are supporting small businesses. We are supporting the arts. We are supporting history. We're supporting nonprofits. And quite honestly, one of the favorite parts of my job is seeing the excitement in people when I get to work with them to do these stories. They are so excited because they want to not only help their community, but they know that our reach can help them as well in what they are doing. So that is extremely rewarding with what we are doing with this initiative. Okay, but we are not done yet. We know that there are so many more stories out there that need to be told. And again, that community pride, residential growth, does not happen overnight. So what you see on this slide is just a few things that we would like to do in 2025. We would like to do some more website optimizations, including putting a form on the website to capture people's contact information and to learn what kind of information they need. What more information? Is it realtors? Is it more information about schools? And then we can provide that to them in the form of an e-newsletter delivered straight to their inbox. Or maybe it's just a community member who wants to be notified when a new story comes out. We can put that in an e-newsletter as well. But most importantly, we want to use that contact form to be able to measure conversions. So we can stand up here and say, we got, 1, we got 2, 3, 4, 5 people that we know actually moved here to Decatur after they found Decatur through the ads that we put out there. And then there would be no question about the budget because just those 1 or 2 people who moved here, bought a house, paying taxes, pays for the entire initiative. We would also like to develop some Positivity Decatur swag. We would use that in form of t-shirts or stickers that we could hand out to people on social media and out in the community and use that to really grow our followers and find new audiences. We would love to make a window decal for all those wonderful businesses and people that we feature in Positively Decatur so they can put that up in the window and everyone knows to look for their story. And maybe most importantly, we would like to do a repeat of that 2019 community survey. We would like to measure just how far we've come and see just how much farther we need to go. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Ellen.
All righty, so if this isn't funded, I just don't want to go back to the time before the campaign. I don't want to go back to where the stories that are really the most visible inside and outside Decatur are the negative ones. I don't want to lose the momentum. It takes a while to build momentum. We could even see this last quarter over quarter. We had a pause last year for last year and this year a little bit for 6 months, and it does interrupt the flow. It does interrupt the momentum. We're really making great strides here, and you have to start building on it again. A lot of our campaigns, it takes a good 6 months before you even start seeing the returns, and we're really getting to the point where we're hitting our stride, as Aaron said. So I don't want to lose control of the narrative, and I firmly feel that the work that we're doing, particularly on the paid advertising targeting potential new residents, is helping to grow the city, which I think is a revenue growth. Next slide. So I think that, you know, it's no secret that our community has gone through a very challenging year. And that nothing defines a community, not one thing can define a community, but the opportunity to find that there's common humanity here, that there's things we can all be proud of, there's more that connects us than divides us. I firmly feel that this is the time in our community where that's more important than ever. So the connection of the people who live here, I think, is every bit as important as the attraction of the new residents. It's efficient and cost effective. You know, I will say that, like, for the big communications, it was a $200,000 budget approved for a logo and a tagline. This has been sustained storytelling day in, day out. The value and the return you're getting from this is significant, and it's cost effective. So I just urge you to continue to support it, because I think it's very, very important for bringing our community together and for attracting new residents to our community.
Thanks, Ellen. Any questions right now? And maybe questions when we get to the agenda item in the meeting. So I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will get started at 10 o'clock, 13 minutes. Meeting to order. Alan Stover will lead us in our invocation and pledge.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, God, as we come to you today, God, in this time of Thanksgiving, God, I just thank you for who you are. God, I thank you for this city. God, I pray that you would lead this city as you see fit. God, I pray that you'd give the council, God, just the insight and the knowledge, God, to make the decisions that need to be made for this city. God, we thank you for this, just everything that you do for us, God. We couldn't make it without you, God, and we just pray that you'd be with us. Just lead, guide, and direct us. We'll be careful to give you the praise, honor, and glory for everything. In Jesus Christ's holy name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Blackman.
Here.
Pike.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
McMasters.
Here.
Pepper.
Here. All right, first item on the agenda, the mayor has two proclamations to read.
The first proclamation is regarding Lung Cancer Month. Whereas lung cancer in individuals who never smoked is the 7th leading cause of cancer-related deaths and accounts for 17,000 to 26,000 deaths in the U.S. every year. 60 to 70% of individuals diagnosed with lung cancer who have never smoked are women, and the proportion of lung cancers diagnosed in people who have never smoked is increasing in the U.S., whereas radon is the leading cause of lung cancer among individuals who never smoked, and second leading cause of lung cancer overall. Whereas lung cancer research is leading to breakthroughs in identification of genetic alterations associated with lung cancer and in the development of lung cancer treatments, including immune therapies and targeted therapies. Whereas organizations working in Alabama, such as the American Lung Cancer Screening Initiative and Women's Lung Cancer Forum, are committed to educating lung cancer and lung cancer screening and working to increase lung cancer screening rates in Alabama. Now, therefore, I, Tab Bolin, as mayor, along with our city council, hereby proclaim November 2024 as Lung Cancer Awareness Month in Decatur, Alabama, and recognize the need to research and lung cancer affecting women and lung cancer health disparities, and encourage all citizens to learn about lung cancer and early detection through lung cancer screening.
Mayor.
Now for the second proclamation regarding Hospice and Palliative Care Month. Whereas 430,000 trained volunteers contribute 19 million hours of service to hospice programs annually, and whereas the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services have pledged to put patients first in all its programs, including hospice, ensuring a coordinated and patient-led approach to care, protecting patient choice and access to individualized services based on a patient's unique care needs and wishes. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Tab Bolin, Mayor, along with the Decatur City Council, by virtue of the authority vested in me by Decatur, Morgan County, Alabama, do hereby proclaim November 2024 as National Hospice and Palliative Care Month, and encourage citizens to increase their understanding and awareness of care at the end of life, discuss their end-of-life wishes with their family, and observe this month with appropriate activities and programs. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. All right, we'll move into agenda-related comments first, and I have quite a few people that have signed in for public hearings, and so we'll wait on those till we actually get to that public hearing when we open the floor for those comments. I did have Mr. Faruqi, I believe, sign in on other items.
Okay, the 4 November minutes, the chief spoke for about 2 minutes on Canine Officer Barron's retirement. That is in comparison to the 2-hour presentation he gave, or availability he had of a listening session on Thursday, where he spoke far less than that 2 minutes during that entire 2-hour time frame. Did anybody here attend that?
No.
Okay. Checks that are up front, I've asked this a couple times, can we not put in the what did we buy for the checks that we've purchased? Because that would save me a lot of time coming up here to ask questions on why do we have a couple $100 going to Nick J. Perkins, Tim Hall, Steve Garner, and some $1.7 million for something called Valenture. If you simply put that in the minutes or in the documentation for these agendas, we can clearly see as a citizen what we're buying and make an accurate description, or come back to you all and say, hey, why did we buy this? What is the purpose of it? So my purpose in here today is, what are we buying for $1.7 million?
I don't know, but I can find that out and get to you.
Okay, can we put that in the agenda?
I think there are, could y'all even guess how many checks are on the?
There's 36 pages of PDF.
Yeah, it's that would.
You can make a FOIA request and we'll answer it.
Thank you for that, but that's not what I'm asking for.
If you would like to email me specific questions, if you're really just after what they're for, if that's what you're after.
I am.
Then if you would like to send those to me, I can find those out and get it back to you.
Okay, now you have a very developed finance division, which has,
for a few $100 check, we're not going to, that would take an enormous amount of time. I would not support us doing that.
Okay, can I reclama that and recommend to you that you do have a finance system in place with each department having a individual who reports to the finance office, who put the budget together, who can just as easily put a quick one-liner about what was purchased that month for that amount of money.
It would take an enormous amount of time.
Okay, I disagree.
So do I.
Red Sage is designed to draw traffic to positive Decatur. Okay. $200,000 we have routinely spent or will spend this year. $14,000 is a check written this month. The briefing talks about challenging coverage you've had since October.
No, actually, that's wrong. What that was referring to is for decades, not since October.
The briefing talks.
No, you're wrong. It was about decades prior, because this was something that was put in one Decatur, which happened in 2018, and it was for that purpose.
You misunderstand what I'm saying, Jacob, so please listen. Okay, I am talking to the briefing that just went up. The young lady just mentioned about a 4 or 5 month period, a pause, where she said in her own words, it was a challenging coverage period, those 4 or 5 months.
That is not what the challenging coverage period was referring to, but you're not going to give on it, so just go.
So what was the challenging coverage referring to?
For years and years, the city, unlike every other city, did not take control of narratives around our own city. We did not have a communications person on staff. We just basically let the local media, good or bad, and I'm a fan of our local media. I try to call you back every time you call me. Sometimes I'm gone, but I think those are good channels. But like every organization on planet Earth, including the Department of Defense, I noticed had a good thing out today on social media, somehow defending their 7 years of failed audits in a row. But everyone does that. Every good organization tries to take control and tell the positive things and not let other people tell their story for them. So that was in reference to decades. The pause was since October, yes.
Okay, and the comment was, we had good results up until October, and then for a pause, nothing happened during that time frame.
There was nothing posted.
Okay. So we're paying that $200,000 again for that. If you go to the Positive Decatur website, the crime stats listed are there from 2019 to 2020. So an outside person deciding to come to possibly live here is looking at 4-year-old data, which doesn't necessarily reflect the most current stats of the city. Can somebody please give transparent statistics on crime stats on a routine basis so the citizens of Decatur are not going to be ballyhooed by the positivity propaganda that we're being allowed to look at? Because I haven't seen that. And I was hoping to see that Thursday from the chief and got nada. A lot of old pictures on there. We have a total of 50 subscribers on YouTube as a result of this effort. Measures of effectiveness, what are they? for positivity of Decatur. What are we buying? What is the plan to get us to where we need to be? And when will we know that we're successful in that effort? I see plus numbers, but plus without a goal is worthless. And then what training is being done for the stakeholders as part of that effort for Red Sage?
I'm not aware of any training. They're not, the purpose is not to be marketing professionals.
No, but they should have an idea on what the message is that they're going to be
I
sending.
think it's a stakeholder to get feedback on how the.
You think or you know?
No, I know.
Okay, are you a stakeholder?
I go to the meetings,
Okay, when are the meetings?
different times.
Okay, can members of the public go to these meetings?
Not a good meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, I did have Bob, is Bob, raise your hand for Bob McMillan, just for the zoning. Okay, gotcha. All right, we will move into, and Justin, you were on a public hearing, I believe. Okay, all right, I think I've got everybody. All right, we will move into the agenda. Approval of monthly bills, approve October 2024 monthly bills. Motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Lyman.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pepper.
Pepper. Monthly bills are approved 5-0. Approval of minutes. Do we need, we'll take these as one. Motion by Mr. Pike. Second by Mr. McMasters. Any discussion? Roll call.
Lyman.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Minutes are approved 5-0. Next, we have set public hearings, Resolution 24-267, set public hearing for abatement of unsafe conditions at 25 Old Trinity Road Northwest for Monday, December 16th. This is a change, by the way, I did want to point out from what we read in the pre-meeting. So it will be Monday, December 16th at 10 a.m. So just make that change.
Yeah, so this building is, it has been empty and it's collapsed upon itself for a couple years now. There's several heirs to the property. Nobody's taken responsibility for it, and it's run its course. We're requesting the council to move with demolition for this building.
All right, any discussion? All right.
Sir?
What is that? What building is it?
It's a house. Yes.
All right, moving to public hearings, Resolution 24095, approve abatement of unsafe conditions at 425 Vine Street Northwest. Public hearing was tabled to November 18th, 2024. Josh?
Yeah, since previous hearing on this one, we've had attempted contacts with property owner, Mr. Robertson. We haven't had any feedback from him, no proposals, no permits, no action taken at all. So we request permission to move forward with demolition of this building.
All right, this is a public hearing, so we'll open the public hearing now. And Mr. Robertson, did you have any comments you want to make?
Thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to give credit to God. I'd like to give credit to the City Council, my council person, Miller Jackson, and all. The decision that I'm working on is a hard decision. Come up with some kind of conclusion. Money-wise, still working on it. There has been several groups of people, including churches, including people who wanted to put a soup kitchen there. I was contacted by a veteran organization. I was contacted by various people with money, some legal and some illegal. I have not and I will not come in contact with illegal funds.
That's not Al. The decision to be made for the building is bigger than me. I've tried, and I prayed, and I thought, and I wondered. But that building is in God's hand. As a matter of fact, all of us are in God's hand. I had to get away from my phone because there's all kind of people calling. Some wanted to buy, some with different needs. I want to put this there, I want to put that there. I got the money, we give you the money, and I will not take that kind of a money. You don't have to let anybody know where the money came from. No, I don't deal like that. As I said, the decision is too big for me. The decision is in the hands of the council and some of the citizens. And God is going to make the last decision about that bill.
Thank you, Al. Anyone else want to speak on this item?
Yeah,
You get close the hearing first. Or?
No, I'd like to go to hearing. I've spoken with Ms. Robinson, and we've had several conversations about this building. And this building is actually an icon in our community. And it means so much to so many people in the community from a historical perspective, from just a range of different reasons why this building means so much. The last time we were here, the council granted Mr. Robinson 90 days to extend. And I said at that particular time that if we did, that I would make the motion for the demo. And I've spoken with Al this morning. And the toughest thing that I can do is to make this motion. But what I spoke with Al about this morning was the same thing that he just talked about. He talked about people wanting this building. People have contacted me about this building. As far as Texas, legitimate business people who have wanted to do something in this building because they were from that community and they want to save that building. So I think there are opportunities here. But I'm going to keep my word this morning. I'm going to make the motion that we move forward on the demolition. But what I would ask is that as far as the demolition goes, Josh, Alan, that we can move forward with that, but let's not proceed with that if at all possible and give him the 30 days that he needs again to at least transfer that to someone who has the ability to restore this building. That's what I'll ask of you guys. Now, he said that he wants this to proceed and he wants to approve the person who goes into that building. But I think it's got to be a combination of things. It's got to be a combination of his approval and your approval as well. You've got to see this, whoever is going to take this building as someone who's fit and capable of making this project work. Is that agreeable, Al?
That's agreeable. Okay,
so I'm going to move forward and I'm going to make the motion as I said I would for the demo. And I just ask that you extend a courtesy and allow him to a little grace. And I know we've given more than customarily do, but a little grace to find someone to take ownership of that building. And if it doesn't happen, then we move forward. And that's the grim truth of this, is that we've got to move forward in one way or the other. So I'm going to ask that, I'm going to make a motion. Once we close this, I'll make the motion now and you can close it, but I'm going to make the motion that we move forward with this, but I make the motion with the understanding that we're going to work with this gentleman and see if he can transfer it to someone who can take ownership of the building and make it work for the community and be a positive thing for the community rather than just having a bare concrete slab. So I asked the community development department and the building department to work with us on that, but I'm going to put that in form of a motion and you can do the public meeting, the public hearing when you're done.
Is there anyone else to speak in the public hearing? All right, we will consider the public hearing closed. We do have a motion by Mr. Jackson, second by Mr. McMasters. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Clydener.
Aye.
Height. Jackson.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-095 approved 5-0. Resolution 24-268, approved request for off-premise beer and wine license for MK Stores Incorporated doing business as First Stop, Last Stop at 4702 Danville Road, Hartselle, Alabama 35640.
Morning, council. This is a change in ownership request.
All right, this is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing now. If there's anyone here to speak on this item. All right, seeing no one here to speak, we'll consider the public hearing closed. There's a motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mr. McMasters. Any discussion? Roll call.
Clydener.
Aye.
Height. Jackson.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-268 is approved 5-0. Ordinance 24-4594, approved zoning ordinance rewrite and zoning map. Public hearing was tabled to November 18th, 2024. Dave?
Good morning, council. This is the zoning ordinance rewrite. It's a 5-year project. I just want to keep in mind this came out of the One Decatur plan. The amendments from last week were presented to you, and I just want to open up for discussion.
Okay, this is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing now. We do have quite a few people to speak on this item. Justin, did you sign in for this or the next one? This one, okay. All right, we'll just go in order. We'll do 3 minutes, and you'll hear a bell ring over here. That you'll have 1 minute to conclude your comments after you hear the bell. I'll just go in order. Justin is first. Justin.
So I wanted to speak on this once more, just because this is such an important document that we're going to try to pass. I do ask the council to delay it, regardless if it impinges on the rent-to-build moratorium. That rent-to-build moratorium can always be extended. Nothing prevents you all from doing that. And additionally, it also gives us time to allow a new director to come in and look over the document.
Thanks, Justin. Mike Faruqi, did you want to speak on this one?
This is zoning?
Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing is there was discussion at the last meeting that there would be changes made. I don't know what those changes were made, how those are articulated in the new document that just showed up as B, I guess, on the in the notes. So some articulation or background information on what specifically is being changed from what we've seen for the last month plus versus the last week would be helpful.
Yeah, it was the amendments that we voted on last week, Herman. That was
Right, we went over those, yes, sir, one
which would have
individual.
been, do you want to go through those, Carlton?
Yeah, it was the definition of family, remove letter B under minor deviations on 225, the heading on 328.3 should read 7th Avenue Southeast access, sidewalks, lighting, and uses prohibited between 5th Street Southeast and 11th Street Southeast. I think that was just kind of a region kind of overlooked there. Pages 418 and 419, change conditional to special. Remove the prohibition of roosters on page 434 and eliminate the green building incentives on page 5148.
So nothing about notification and nothing about neighborhood meetings.
That's right. No changes to this.
Okay, and so when were those published, those amendments?
The last.
We voted. We actually voted on it.
I heard it. I never saw them in writing anywhere.
They were in the ordinance that was presented once again, and I understand what you're at. It was on the website. It was available in the city clerk's office. It was available in the planning department.
Okay, so I would have had to have asked.
Let me finish.
Okay.
All right, thank you. It's 400 pages, so that's why we didn't print it out that often. That's why it's available. But now go ahead, I'm sorry, but it's about 300 or 400 pages.
So when you make a change to a document that's going to affect the entire city, those changes are only provided, meaning not available to look at if I happen to know that to go talk to the clerk's office, to the members of the council to vote on. Is that correct?
we went over each item that.
There was discussion, not clarity.
We went over each item.
Can I finish now, please?
Yes.
There was not clarity in terms of the notification process or the neighborhood meetings as an item that it was brought up. There was no recommendation that said, these are solely the amendments we're going to talk about, and these are the ones we are not. Thank you.
I don't agree with that, so that's okay.
I do.
I understand.
All right, Aaron Cossey.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm sure you all recognize me at this point from the many dealings with build-to-rent zonings and the Foxwood development that's being built behind my home. I truly take no joy in attending and participating in these meetings. I'm sure you probably don't feel the same way because it's your job, but I don't really like doing this. It's very much out of my comfort zone. But if you're tired of me, there's a way to make me go away. I, like the many people who come to be seen and speak out today, I make a large sacrifice with my time and effort to come and ask you again to hear our concerns and act upon the positions you are elected to hold. On August 21st of 2023, a moratorium was put into place to investigate BTRs and work towards a common goal of preserving the Foxwood Farms development, with the exception of the initial homes that had had their building permits already pulled. We were told that these initial homes were free to be completed and that we would work together towards a favorable outcome with the rest of this development. Many in Burning Tree area have attended council meetings and planning commission meetings, letting our faces be seen and our voices be heard about this matter. After the planning commission meeting, the consensus of the majority of the board and attendees is that BTR verbiage that was presented was weak and bared no weight for anything to be enforced, which at some point would leave the city scrambling when the next BTR development pops up. Reviewing what has been written in this zoning rewrite was even weaker and dangerous. Carlton, you have said that you firmed that up, and I appreciate that. That was not brought to our attention until this morning. I appreciate that there's some enforceable verbiage. I think that that's important because with vague and undefined parameters,
Aaron, can you pause there real quick?
Yeah.
So what Aaron's talking about on the weaker verbiage, when it was proposed at planning, I believe it was at 20%, and there were a lot of may and should. Now that threshold is 10%, and it's will. It's not may and should. So there's a lot of firming up. It's got to be presented to planning and the building department on the front as what it will be. So there's no guess. So we're not in the boat we're in now with what's happening back there.
may I ask if there's anything in there to say what consequences there are if this is not transparent?
As far as, what are, I guess, Herman, what are the legal ramifications if these, if somebody lies on this?
It's no different than any.
It's no different
Well,
than any other.
yes, that's correct. If you violate city ordinance, you're subject to a criminal penalty.
I've asked before and will ask again why we're not pushing build to rent in its own zoning. I know there's very mixed feelings about that. I would love.
Can I ask a question too? And you can answer it if you want, or anybody up here. What you said up front, that and even if you had its own zoning, I guess, but really what we're talking about today is, so if somebody builds 20 houses, they could build to rent 2 of them. So then what if that person says, okay, I'm not renting any of them, I'm building them, and then sells them to someone else?
If you have if you start out, you have to fill out a form, a questionnaire that you present.
I understand. I'm talking about
All right, but the answer is it just says if you bill 10% or more. So if you got a 200.
And then if you had an existing neighborhood that I went in and bought every house on the street or neighborhood, or I'm a developer, I could make it all be rentals.
Yes.
No matter what we do. Okay, I was just making sure I understood that. Okay.
Anyway, placed in these areas that, back to it having its own zoning, placed in these areas that preserve in existing neighborhoods, excuse me, I'm sorry. I've asked before and will ask again why we're not pushing build to rent to be in its own zoning, placed in areas that preserve the existing neighborhoods Decatur has and giving us the ability to strategically plan and build towards a better city for every Decatur resident. If these developments are needed, which we've all heard you say, let's make a clear and easy path for them to come. At the beginning of all of this 15 months ago, we had city leaders who empathized with us and told us that they would work towards a better outcome with Foxwood Farms, that they've cared about our homes, our families, our investments, and our commitments to the choices we all made to stay into Decatur. However, over this time, the conversation has shifted the dialogue to now the city telling us that there's no hope and it's a done deal, and I refuse to believe this. I live in the city limits. These homes behind me are being built in the city limits, and I expect my city officials to care about and protect those living in the city limits. If I had chosen to live in the county, I wouldn't be here and having these discussions with my county commissioner. You all gentlemen hold a responsibility and duty to uphold the integrity of the city and are failing to do that if you are willing to allow what's going to happen with Foxwood Farms. I can't stand here and believe that nothing can be done and that it's over. There's nothing to fight and that there's no solution to the problem. I'm no attorney, but I know that nothing is final until it's final. Attorneys create solutions in their arguments every day. Why are we not creating our own creative solutions? I want to recognize that much of my argument today will also be valid tomorrow in the Planning Commission's meeting. There's so much crossover between the two subjects of today's zoning rewrite and tomorrow's plat approval that the lines are gray and where to argue what. But let me be clear, we all see this as a continuous chain of events that will have lasting effect on every of our city officials and every department if our city officials do not act. I've heard several of you discuss that landowners have rights, and as a landowner, I appreciate that you recognize that. But let me be clear about this as well. No one here is opposing the development of Foxwood Farms. We are opposing the devastation that all of us see in our community that is coming. I can't believe that any of you can honestly look at what's happening and has happened and think it's okay. I honestly can't hold anyone in that low of regard that would not have enough decency to see that this is a problem and needs to be addressed, especially anyone who has the authority to do something about it. You gentlemen have a legacy of what will unfold with this. I encourage you all to review the plats that are for approval tomorrow with Foxwood Farms. The density and capacity of these plats is alarming on every level. How can you sit back and not do your best to help? A healthy city has to have healthy neighborhoods. It doesn't matter how much growth we have if we don't have healthy neighborhoods. I'm almost finished. Can I finish?
But just wrap up.
Okay. I'm upset. I feel that everything that has been said to this point has been to pacify us on this matter while nothing gets done. I'm disappointed because I think higher of all of you than I'm watching you be willing to allow. But ultimately, I grieve because I love where I live, and I'm seeing that I don't have city officials that think that my investment in my property, commitment to my community, and love for my city is worth protecting. I hope that you all will prove me wrong.
Thanks, Ian. Donna Frost, I believe. Did I see that right? Donna Frost, okay. Cliff Ritter.
Good morning. I'm mostly concerned with the build-to-rent section on pages 140 to 141 of a 395-page document. They can be constructed anywhere in Decatur that is zoned residential once the developer says that more than 10% of the lots will be rental. It also says a development shall be designated as a BTR by planning staff based upon the information submitted by the property owner and/or their designated representative at the time of application to subdivide, layout, preliminary and/or final plat is submitted for approval by Planning Commission. That means, as I understand it, they could wait until the final plat is submitted before declaring an intent to rent. Isn't that too late for surrounding homeowners who have no choice and little voice in the matter? And it also says approval by the Board of Zoning Adjustments should be contingent upon applicant adhering to the design illustrated by the conceptual development plan. Should be contingent? Why not must be contingent? The current R3 residential single family is now R7 residential single family, And the purpose on page 76 says, district regulations discourage development that interferes with the quiet residential nature of the district. How do you enforce discourage? Section 25-2.3.3, neighborhood meeting, on page 26 says, 1, a pre-application neighborhood meeting is required before the submission of applications for a planned development district. See sections 25-2.4.3, unless waived by the director. 2, a pre-application neighborhood meeting may be held at the applicant's option before the submission of any development application not identified in subsection 1 above. Why wouldn't a neighborhood meeting be required? Why is the director allowed to waive a neighborhood meeting, and under what circumstances? Table 25-5.3.3, paren B, required landscape buffer type, shows single-family residential, RS-E, RS-10, RS-7, RS-5, RMAN, and RT are exempt from a landscape buffer. Why? This means that an existing homeowner must create their own buffer at their own expense. Is this fair to the homeowner who lives next to the development? Also, I don't see an option for a fence buffer to be built by the developer. Foxwood built a flat panel fence between the BTR homes and those on Kiowa. In a few short years, that fence will warp and peel and become unsightly. Will the proposed Foxwood additions also have flat panel fences between the existing homes and the burning tree area? If so, they are not conducive to the burning tree environment. The developer of Foxwood Addition 5 is PHCV4 Homes, LLC, out of Birmingham. They are the same developer who started and stopped construction of the Foxwood BTR. They filed for bankruptcy in Birmingham 2 months ago on September 10th. How can they be trusted to do Addition 5? Who is responsible for their vacant build-to-rent homes that are half-built in Foxwood and falling apart? In the zoning ordinance, why can't a provision be added that requires the developer who subsequently declares bankruptcy to sell or demolish homes that have not been bought or rented? I'm hopeful that you will delay approval of the zoning rewrite until questions by city residents can be answered. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Jarvis Adams.
I agree with the comments made by Aaron.
Okay, thank you. Michael Terry.
Same.
Parker.
No, I didn't want to speak.
You have to speak. And Bob McMillan.
I couldn't say it better.
Okay. And Andrea Meyer Wilson. And Rob, yes.
I'm not, but I have to tell you that I am doing my best to channel. I'm doing my best to, for Pete's sake, all these tall people, to channel the Duchess of Devonshire, who famously fed her flock in gowns. And what I would like to do today, following the Positively Decatur presentation, which I watched on live stream, is I would like to thank everyone who's been so collaborative in several items that we've discussed. Kent, Dane, Tommy, and so many others. Thank you on the dais who have listened. Backyard poultry is a long-standing part of Decatur's heritage. And kudos to the Princess Theater for booking Robert Earl Keen again. My T-shirt is from his last concert here, which he said was going to be his last, but the Princess worked magic. It feels good, feeling good again. And note the happy hen and roo. But what I would like to say is that beyond that, we need to really look at and understand our codes. The absent member of council claimed that, oh, he's on the phone. Okay. He claims that chickens are livestock. They are not livestock according to Alabama law. Hooved animals are the only ones on the list. But I've also been asked by several citizens about other items that I've emailed to y'all. Things like, are tiny homes going to be allowed as ADUs? How do the nonconformities work? How do they know if they're grandfathered in on things like this? And I've asked them, well, why don't you ask? And ubiquitously, the answer that I've received is that I have family who work for the city. So while I'm thanking you for your collaboration, I'd also like to mention that one of the things that we really need to do in order to be able to authentically say that we are positively Decatur is that we need to drive out fear so that everyone may work effectively. So it's a question to ask. Why would those with family who work for the city send their questions to me? I'm no different from them. I'm just a citizen. And they are not asking the questions because they have fear of reprisal. We need to drive out fear. And I didn't come up with that. That's Deming's, if anybody is a quality geek like me. Dr. Holly Duckworth and I listed Edward Deming's key principles, 14 key principles for management. And number 8 is drive out fear. So this is not a new concept. So I want to leave on a positive note. While there have been questions asked again about this rewrite, Kent and I have spoken extensively about it. Sure, I still have questions. Rob's going to ask a question about one of the things on the fencing. I do think that even if it's after it's published, we ought to have a really well-conceived and executed public forum so that people know, what are the changes and how do they stay out of hot water. Stephanie, are you timing me? Because normally this normally goes off.
It's at 4.
It's at 4. Okay. So that's really all I have to say is let's drive out fear. I think that we need to. I am celebrating this. Robert O'Keefe coming back to the princess. Hey, Ken. And let's make sure that positively Decatur is really authentic, and let's drive out fear. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Rob, I think I'm going to like Andrea's handout better than yours.
That's what I didn't hear in the amendments, and I had hoped to, was that we might reconsider the corrugated fencing thing.
One thing I'll say on the amendments, and I don't remember, I should have made this point last time. We've made this point before, and I think there's arguments about getting as much change before implementation. Just this council in the last 4 years, how many text amendments have we had? I mean, we changed the zoning ordinance a lot. This thing is 70 years old, the one we currently have. So there are going to be changes made. So an amendment could be made after it's adopted. There's always, I don't know that I'm saying whether I agree with the corrugated fencing or not. I think it's definitely worth a conversation. I think you made some good points there. But if we were to wait till every citizen that had one issue they wanted changed, we would never pass this. It will never pass. We at some point, now there's going to be an argument about if we adopt it today or not. At some point, we have to adopt it, and then we got to move on, and then we can make changes as we go. I hear your point.
I think all of us that have
it gets delayed significantly every time we make a change.
Right, but so At one point, we had talked about there being a vehicle to be able to, you don't have to adopt everything. You can go part and parcel. So especially in light of a lot of the points that have been made along the way, but especially today, on the build to rent. I mean, and you yourself even walked through a loophole, and I think it would, stuff like that especially.
One of many, but-
Right. Okay, so table those or pull them out. I know that you got to kind of do some rewriting, but it's those of us that have worked on a lot of this stuff for a lot of years in Decatur. I know that there's a way that it can be done, but it sure feels like trying to put toothpaste back in the tube a lot when you try to go back after the fact. And I still think Mr. Jackson made a really good point of we're bringing in a director, and they do this every day for a living. So, thank you.
Thanks, Rob. All right. Has everybody had signed in? Is there anyone else here to speak on this item?
Me?
Yeah.
Mr.
Let me. You may close the public hearing.
No, this is part of it. Well, it's not. Basically, I just want to make sure it's understood. We're back to build to rent. In order to get a building permit, which is the key, you've got to fill out all this. So it may be, you have plat approvals. I just want the audience to know that that's not the last step. You don't get building permits until you complete all the previous things, okay?
Yep.
All right.
Okay. We will consider the public hearing closed and open. We got a motion from Mr. Pepper, and this would be to approve the rewrite. And what I would ask is either if there's any, before anyone seconds, if there's any thought of tabling, we need to have that conversation first.
Of course, I think we need to table this until we actually have a director on staff. As I've said before, and I won't go through the entire argument again, but we've got a document that, as you said earlier, is almost 70 years old. And with that document being almost 70 years old, yes, we've made changes. But I guess the real point or concern that I have is we're going into a new document. We still have that one that we can exist by, but we're going into a new document making all sorts of changes right off the bat. And as I said before, nobody up here has a planning background. Nobody on the planning commission has a planning background. Well, on the planning commission has a planning background. We have a planner on our staff, but we don't have a planning director. We don't have a director who day in and day out is going to look at this document and make sure that it's what is appropriate for the city of Decatur. And that's my concern, is that we, in September, I think, adopted a position for a director of planning. And we did that for a reason. We've gone since 2009 without a director of planning, and we've lost considerable ground based on that a person not being in that position. But we've adopted that now. And with that being the case, we've got an opportunity before we go into this new document and before we go into these new changes to have someone on staff who can look at it, review it, and say this is appropriate for this community, this is not appropriate for this community. And I think when we pass that by, we're passing by an opportunity to get things right the very first time. Yeah, we're going to make changes, we're going to amend it throughout time, but I think that we need to start off with the very best document, the most appropriate document that we possibly can. The gentleman talked about how do you enforce discourage? How do you enforce discourage? And we talked about may and shall and a lot of other subjectives. And with those subjectives being in place, there is no real, I mean, the document it's subjective in many cases. And with that being the case, we just need to, again, we need to iron out the wrinkles, make sure that everybody's not going to like it. Everybody's not going to like it at any point. But we have an opportunity to go into a document with our best chance of having something that works for this entire community and gives us the best chance to move forward. So that's my argument, is that, yeah, we can push it back and it delays some things, but maybe that's what we need to do, is delay some things and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to look at it for what it actually is, but more importantly, have a person is tasked with doing this and making sure that this is the right document for our city. So that's where I am. I'm sure I'll have more to say when we go tomorrow.
Any other discussion? There is a motion on the table to approve.
I will make a motion to table it.
Is there a second to approve? I don't hear a second on the approval motion, and I did hear Mr. Jackson make a motion to table. Is there a second on tabling?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Pike. My thought on this is if we had not made, and I said this last week, but it's a bigger crowd today. If we had not made that move to hire a planning director, I would absolutely say we should adopt it today. But I do think because we're already in motion, we hired a firm last week to help us with the recruitment. There was a comment made in February, March, possibly getting somebody on board through the holidays could be a challenge. So, but my suggestion would be we table it till the first meeting of March, which would be March 3rd. What is that?
Well, if this
I'll talk. March 3rd, and we can reevaluate where we are in the hiring process. If we have gotten nowhere, I will definitely support going ahead and moving forward with approval. But
I might be shooting myself in the foot, Jacob, but let me say this too. Even if we hire somebody by the 1st of March,
I agree.
That person needs to be on board.
If we had somebody on board, then we can have a discussion with them of, hey, then I would say, yeah, but I just want to put something on paper that gives us a little bit, again, sense of urgency. So,
yeah, I don't know that I could support it just open-ended. I think we need to set a date that we know we will visit this, whether or not a director's in place at that time or not. I don't just love delaying it. I don't agree that this has been rushed through. But I will support tabling it due to the point of us having a director. I think the argument against it is it's a living, breathing document. You can change it at any point, but that argument can be made on both sides of this. So I'll support tabling until March.
All right, any other discussion?
I agree with what you guys.
Well, do you want to?
Oh, so yeah, so okay. If this is going to be tabled, talking back to our living, breathing document, we got a room full of folks in here who were adversely affected by something neither of us had ever seen until it came to Decatur, which was build to rent. We attempted to put something in place. It was a little loose at the time. This has since been, screws have been tightened up a little bit on it. It sets a threshold. The subjective language is gone. The moratorium on build to rent expires at the end of this year. I don't know if council has an appetite to extend another moratorium. I've heard rumblings that there's no appetite to extend it. And if that's the case, I have 2 amendments to our existing zoning ordinance I would like for us to consider and adopt almost immediately or as quickly as we legally
You'll have to, if you do it, you'll have to introduce it. It'll have to be published, and it would be heard December the 16th. Well, what it does, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So one of them is restrictions on build to rent. The second is, which I think is just as equally important, if not more so, is the definition of family. Our city's definition of family is incredibly vague. We're seeing what this does, in my opinion, with build to rent restrictions and amending the definition of family. We've heard single family, protect single family. That's what these 2 things does. This is 2 of the most important things in this document, in my opinion. If we do not change the definition of family, we're opening ourselves up, and I know I've got one in my district, and I don't know if Hunter and Jacob, I don't know if you guys do. We've got halfway houses popping up that because our definition of family in single-family residential zones, that because our definition of family is so loose, there's nothing we can do about it. These are 2 things that are very, very important to protect single-family residential neighborhoods, in my opinion. And I would encourage everybody to look favorably upon this and consider adopting it immediately, especially if we're going to delay the big zoning rewrite.
We will, let's let's move on. We do have a motion and a second on the tabling. Is there any discussion on that item? All right, roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Aye. Jackson.
Aye.
McMaster. Pepper.
The ordinance 244594 is tabled with a vote of 5-0. So we'll take that back up March 3rd.
That wasn't me.
That was Rob. Yeah. So on this item, I think we need to look at introducing these at the next meeting.
No, I'm sorry. We need, let me share with you why you need to, if you would, do it today. Because since what this does, it's, the new zoning rewrite has a different numbering system. What we do here is we take the very same language that was in the zoning rewrite and have plugged it into our current zoning ordinance. In order, on a zoning ordinance, you have to introduce it, and then it's published twice in the newspaper. So it takes a minimum of 22 days before you can consider it. So if you wait till the next meeting, you're not going to make the deadline for having it in place before January the 1st. So you introduce it
Well,
today.
we could with a special called meeting.
Well, you would.
22 days till.
Well, if you do it the 16th, then it has to be published, which would be the 18th. So you're looking, that's beyond the first of the year. If you do it December the 4th, I guess you could meet the week of Christmas, yes.
On Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
To the family.
But see, this allows you almost, this gives you a month to review it.
Okay. Well, then we do need to introduce this today.
Yes, sir.
Which I think, how do we need to go about that?
Well, he's saying, yeah, we need a zoning ordinance number.
244599.
$45.99.
Yes.
Okay, so ordinance 2445.99, which would amend the bill. It would include build-to-rent regulations and the definition of family, which is section 25(2). Okay. Anybody have any discussion on that?
Someone repeat that so we can understand.
I can hand this to you as soon as I leave. Okay. Any other discussion on that?
So
That would potentially be on which meeting agenda?
Be the December the 16th meeting.
Okay, so a month away.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. Ordinance 244595, pre-zoning request 1425 2612 Old Moulton Road, Southwest.
Tommy Williams with the Planning Department. How are y'all? Thank you. They're requesting to annex, to pre-zone 5.60 acres to B1 local shopping.
B1. Mr. McMasters has stepped off the dais. All right, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone here to speak on this item, speak now. All right, seeing no one here to speak, we'll consider the public hearing closed. We have a motion. Motion by Mr. Pepper. He motioned first. Second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
McMaster. Pepper.
Ordinance 244595 340. Next, weed abatements, resolution 24269. Motion by Mr. Pepper. Second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion?
So they've always said before,
And I didn't let you.
I'm sorry.
No,
Any changes or?
no changes to any of these. So.
I just, I don't have a problem with this. I think that we should do these, but I do think that we are lacking in a lot of areas in our city. And I think it's almost hypocritical to enforce this when we're not doing what we should be doing. That's my position.
Mr. Leonard?
Yep.
Can I make a motion to take them all at once?
That has to be unanimous. Mr. Jackson would like to take them one at a time. All right, we do have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike. Jackson.
No.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-269 is approved 3-1. Resolution 24-270, motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Weedebaker.
Aye. Stay off on this one.
Okay. Pepper.
No.
Yes, sorry.
Resolution 24-270 is approved 3-1. For the record, Mr. McMaster's back. Resolution 24-271, motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson. McMaster.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-271 is approved 4-1. Resolution 24-272, motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mr. McMasters. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-272 is approved 4-1. Resolution 24-273, motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-273 is approved 4-1. Resolution 24-274.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pike.
Second.
Second by Mr. McMasters. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-274 is approved 4-1. Resolution 24-275.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pike.
Second.
Second by Mr. McMasters. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-275 is approved 4-1. Resolution 24-276, motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-276 approved 4-1. Resolution 24-277, motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-277 is approved 4-1. Resolution 24-278, motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike. Jackson. McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-278 is approved 4-1. Resolution 24-279, approve extension of special use permit for Verizon Wireless to modify equipment located on an existing tower. Motion by Mr. Pepper. Second by Mr. Pike. And Herman, anything to add there?
No, our consultant has approved this extension. They have to pay an additional, I'm talking about the applicant has to pay an additional application fee because they're past the 6 months. But
All right, any other discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike. Jackson.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-279 is approved 5-0. Resolution 24-253, award bid number 24036 to North Alabama Glass for 7th floor office wall. Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Jeremy, do we need to vote this to not accept?
well, it
Can it
depends.
expire? I mean, there's a motion in the second, so.
Yes, well, if you're going to buy the other, if you're going to consider buying the other one, I guess you can vote on this, yes. But you've got to decide which takes precedent.
No, because it's going to expire.
It will expire next week.
Yeah, so I think my opinion is we ought to not accept, we're going to vote this down, and then if we have a need to come back, we're just going to go back up to bid.
Rebid. It's a loan respondent. We could also negotiate the length of time. It was a 60-day agreement. We can also negotiate that with them as well.
I think I would say just vote it down. Yeah. All right, we do have a motion and a second, and aye would be an approval, no would be we're rejecting the bid. All right, any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
No.
Pike.
No.
Jackson.
No.
McMasters.
No.
Pepper.
No.
Resolution 24-253 fails 0 to 5. Resolution 24-258 approves 7th floor renovations for Court Payment Center. We'll just do the same thing. Yeah.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mr. McMasters. Any discussion? Again, an aye vote would be to approve, no would be not. I guess that's obvious, but sorry. Motion and second, any discussion? Roll call?
Ladner.
No.
Pike.
No.
Jackson.
No.
McMasters.
No.
Pepper.
No.
Resolution 24-258 fails 0 to 5. Resolution 24-280, approve rollover of funding for previously approved items and projects.
Council, this
Motion by Mr. Pepper. Second by Mr. Pike.
this is just some housekeeping. This is a roll forward resolution to projects that have been approved either last year or in previous years, and then just moves the budget so that we can expense on them as we work on them this year.
All right, we do have a motion to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-280 is approved 5-0. Resolution 24-281, approve amendment to Merit System Rule 8.
This is just
Motion by Mr. Pepper. Second by Mr. Pike. Michelle.
questions. This is to modify
This had to do
the
with
merits. Yeah.
Any questions or discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-281 is approved 5-0. Resolution 24-282 approved one-time holiday pay increase. Motion by Mr. McMasters, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike. Jackson.
Aye.
McMasters. Pepper.
Resolution 24-282 is approved 5-0. Resolution 24-283 approved one-time pay increase wellness participation. Motion by Mr. McMasters, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike. Jackson.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-283 is approved 5-0. Resolution 24-284 authorized mayor to accept public use and maintenance of Valley Park North Phase 1, Plat Book 2024, page 4.
Yeah, this subdivision is substantially complete, and we're ready to accept it for use and maintenance.
So motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mr. McMasters. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-284 is approved 5-0. Resolution 24-285 authorized mayor to accept public use and maintenance for Legacy Cove Phase 1, Plat Book 2021, page 33.
Yeah, this subdivision is also substantially complete and would recommend.
Motion by Mr. Pepper. Second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ladner.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-285 is approved 5-0. Resolution 24-286 authorized the mayor to apply for EPA change grant for Roseberry Park. Motion by Mr. Pepper. Second by Mr. Pike. Alan.
Yes, this is a $20 million grant for reimagining Rhodes Ferry Park. NARCOG is they're getting this application together. Joey and his team is here. They've been working on it now for a couple of weeks, and it is a good partnership with us and NARCOG. This would also approve a statutory agreement between the city and MRV, which is Mountain Rivers and Valleys. This grant requires that we have a CBO partner, and they would serve as that partner with the city in making this application.
Tell me what the CBO means.
It's a community-based organization that has worked on these type projects in the past, and Winona and her team has got an extensive track record of working on these type projects.
Motion by Mr. McMasters.
I think we already had a motion in a second.
I'm the wrong one. Sorry. We had a motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Are we using, I guess, in the application, kind of what Tennessee Riverline had designed? That I mean,
Well,
it was very high level, kind of.
Well, the plan was actually, the city paid about 4 years ago for a plan, a splash pad plan for Rhodes Ferry.
Kind of built on that.
And this plan will build on that some to, for some additional things that we'll do at the park. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, it's been a collaborative effort of what we're going to reimagine and how that would work.
Sure, okay. All right, any other discussion? Roll call.
Tyler.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
McMaster.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-286 approved 5-0. Resolution 24-287 authorize mayor to approve proposal from Red Sage. So moved. Motion by Mr. Pike. Second by Mr. Pepper. Any discussion?
Yeah. I think is this the third year that we're involved in this?
2022 is when it was first.
I think the first year we were at roughly 150,000. Last year we were at roughly 175,000. This year we're looking at going to 200,000. When I read through the things that were presented in the packet, it said that, correct me if I'm wrong, but in June we received like 13 comments on Facebook. Is that not?
That was one post.
Okay. And then Instagram, we received 152. And I'm just going on the documents that I read. I think it's one post. It might be one post, but we're paying $200,000 for something that, and Ellen, you referred to the big communications. Of course, I didn't support that either, but because it was $200,000, and like I said, we got a slogan that said Decatur a little different. I think it's what it was. But the thing is that is a huge amount of money for I'm not sure what we're getting. And I know that you talked about growth and the impact that it has on our community. I don't know that we can actually literally quantify that and how it impacts our growth. And for us to spend $200,000 on that is to me just beyond substantial. And so I was looking at my Facebook page, and of course, I'm not a huge Facebook guy, but I do some stuff on here. And one of my, and you talked about 13 shares on one of the things that was in this document that you gave us today. And on one post that I had where an artist did a rendering of me, there were 594 likes. There were 245 comments on it and 36 shares on it. And that's pretty broad. But the thing is that I didn't pay anything for that. And I understand that things cost, but I'm just not sure that I can go along with paying $200,000 for something that I think that a business ed high school class could do. And so that's where I am on it today. And I'm sure that council members would differ in opinion on that, but that's exactly where I am with this.
Any other discussion? Yeah, I kind of go back to what I said probably in 2022 and today. I think it's a mistake. And on the cost, I can talk about that. The first year, we had an employee that did they would create the content. That employee internally would do a lot of the posting and commenting and kind of handling what we don't have her anymore. So that we asked them to take on a little bit more in year 2, and that's where some of that cost came from. Actually at a much more discounted price of the employee would have been. So that's where that came from. I think it's a major mistake for any organization to just leave narratives about themselves out in a vacuum. And I don't care if you're a nonprofit, a city, a Fortune 500 business, or like I gave the example today, there's been a lot of bad press on the Pentagon for 7 failed audits in a row on a $850 billion budget, and they're out saying that was good news. So everybody does this. You've got to be able to tell the positive stories, and you can't just let the narrative happen as it happens. You got to try to control it. So I think that there has been really good work. I do hear compliments about this. It was something the city back in 2018 set out as part of One Decatur as something we wanted to do. And I think starting over, quitting, and then trying to start over in the future is just going to put us further behind what is truly competition. I mean, we like to say, what is the term everybody uses about regional? Regional's great until it's not. This is a competitive business. It just is. And so marketing is part of that. I will be the first to say my company, we use marketing, and I see a lot of this same stuff, and I'm going, it is hard to quantify. Anybody that has a business, runs a business, and uses marketing, there's a lot of big numbers, and you're going, how do I really quantify that? And it is difficult in the marketing world to really, truly quantify the impact. But I just think it's a big mistake to just leave this up to the news.
And I don't disagree with you. We've got to basically set our path. We've got to set our own path. But the Bob Gibson story had 54 comments and 111 shares, and that's probably one of the biggest things that we're going to have. But the thing, too, is that many cities, especially cities our size, the mayor's secretary does this. And maybe we've gone beyond that. Maybe we haven't. But I do think that this is just an enormous expenditure. And I'm, like I said, you don't disagree. I mean, you don't agree with that. You disagree with that, and that's fine. This is an enormous expenditure for a project like this. And I just think that we are stewards of our citizens' money, and this is something that is I think, just beyond the scope of what we should be doing.
I understand that there's probably a lot of people that agree with that and a lot that don't.
I agree.
I've been part of 2 organizations. One, we had our own internal companies where I work. One has a very robust internal marketing group that does their own video, their own social, their own ads, their own copy, their own postings, everything. And that is a pretty large organization, but that is a massive payroll, massive, over $1 million, no question. And then I've been a part of one that outsources, and we spend considerably less, and we get the same impact of 10, 15 people, just like was presented here. So that's part of why I disagree. But I mean, I do understand. I think it is foreign to, it is hard to quantify.
It is hard to quantify,
but a lot of things we do.
But I'll say this too: growth in rooftops is not growth in population. There's no direct correlation there. And
but if you don't have the rooftops, you will not grow in population.
We are growing in rooftops. I'm acknowledging that.
If you don't have the
we're
rooftops,
not necessarily growing in population. So the impact of this, I don't know that we've seen that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I am.
For the rooftops, I get that, but if you don't have the rooftops, you literally cannot grow in population.
That's fine, and that's true. And I'm not saying that we're not having growth in rooftops. We are. I acknowledge that. But the rooftops don't necessarily correlate to growth in population. And I think that's what the position here is that we need the growth. And so
I think it's that, but also, I mean, some of these stories, I know you're aware of some of them. I mean, they're good things for us to share about our community. It's not just to.
Absolutely.
We're not paying for this just to get likes and comments.
Absolutely. Likes and comments are kind of they're a measure rod as to
quantify
to your reach. Yeah, and people who are looking at it, and I think think that they brought up the lights and so, and it's in our documents. So I'm just kind of looking at what is before me and basing it on that. So we can move on with vote.
Hey, this would be out of unassigned, which is what I said when we approved the budget. Just wanted to make that clear, that that's where the funding would come from. And it would be another annual contract, I believe, which actually goes beyond our fiscal year because it's a calendar year contract. So just want to make that clear. So any other discussion?
Just important to note that what Red Sage is doing is different than what the city needs to have as far as someone in communications that's doing exactly what you talked about a while ago, being able to defend ourselves and send out an accurate message. And we need to be that internal or external.
But even if we had someone else, I mean, and the example that I used was high school business ed class. Even if we did that, it would still come back to us for approval. We would still have to approve that. So yeah, we have last say as to what goes out and what doesn't go out, but still, I think we can do it in a far less expensive way. Far less expensive way.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call.
Lyden.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
Resolution 24-287 is approved 4-1. Resolution 24-288 approved rescheduling of the December 2nd, 2024, 5:30 p.m. council work session and 6 p.m. council meeting to Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024. Motion by Mr. Pepper. Second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion?
While we're there, so with the way Thanksgiving falls, and then our staff is off on the Friday following Thanksgiving, we have a parade set for Monday the 2nd. So with that, the street crews will start putting out barricades along the parade route on Wednesday. And then they'll come back and complete that on Monday. It's a 2-day process to get them all out. So
They could be staging them or just?
Staging them.
Okay, they're not going to take a look, okay.
No, they'll actually do that on Monday.
They'll do like they usually do, they'll put them at intersections in every
Yes,
block.
yes. And I'll let the Merchants Association know.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call.
Lyden.
Aye.
Pike. Jackson.
I'm going to abstain on that.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
Resolution 24-288 is approved 3-0 with 2 abstentions. Next, we have ordinances first reading. Ordinance 24-4597 declare surplus and sell 718 Sykes Street to Gregory and Deborah Lynch.
Yes, this is a property that the Lynches has come to the city wanting to purchase. Based on the fact that we've dealt with Mr. Lynch and Ms. Lynch over the past couple of years, I would ask that you go ahead and do a double vote on this and go ahead and approve it today if you can.
I have a motion for immediate consideration by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? And you recommend?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call.
Lyden.
Aye.
Pike. Jackson.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Pepper.
All right, immediate consideration is approved 5-0. Need a motion. We've got a motion on the ordinance by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call.
Lyden.
Aye.
Pike.
Aye.
McMasters.
Aye.
Excuse me. Rid Jackson.
Did you already vote?
Yeah, I voted out of
He
turn
is.
when she called me out of turn.
He did. He voted aye.
He voted aye and Pepper said aye.
All right. Ordinance 24-4597 is approved 5-0.
Thank y'all.
Yes, sir. Next is ordinance 24-4598, change definition of lounge and alcoholic beverage chapter.
Yeah, that's just introducing it. It reduces the required square footage to 500 square feet and be able to serve 15 people at one time. That's all right. Yep.
Thank you, Herman. Any questions? All right, we'll move into public comment. Anything else from city employees? No
Before we go into public comment, can I ask you, Stephanie, why did we, now for decades, it's been council president, president pro tem, and then by an order of district. Why did we change that?
I was president pro tem.
Oh, never mind. Wait, thank you. I was thinking, yeah, thank you. You answered that question. Thank you.
Okay, move into public comment. We'll do 3 minutes with 1 minute to wrap up. Mr. Faruqi.
Okay, why did nobody attend that Thursday listening session?
I'll be quite honest with you. I was asked if I was going to go, and I told the people who asked me if I was going that I was not going to go just for the purpose of seeing someone check a box.
Well, that's exactly what happened.
And so that was where I was. That's where I am now. I'm never going to do anything so that to have someone check a box.
I was unavailable.
I don't think that elected officials are going to be helpful at these type meetings.
Listening to the comments that are now on Facebook, I would offer to you, maybe you should spend some time doing that, Mr. Mayor. Because one of the things that came out of that was a discussion on transparency. You know, we've had presentations on the budget brief since I've been coming to these things. We've had DYS facilities talked about, mental health complex, and Red Sage gave a briefing today. But our police chief has yet to present a briefing on what his plan is, how he's going to execute it, what his measures of effectiveness are. That meeting on Thursday, if there was a metric of success, I don't know what it was. It was horrible. Other than the fact that, yes, in fact, he sat there and listened, so success there. But he's supposedly doing that since October of last year. He's supposed to have been doing that.
I know you're talking, but let me say this. I watched it later on Facebook, and I saw it as being no different than what we have here at the council meeting, where citizens spoke and they gave their opinion, and that there was not a lot of response from our police department. And so, again, I think that it was one of those situations where it was just kind of replicating what we have here today. So that was disappointing.
Agreed.
You'd like to say something?
I would just say typically we do offer feedback.
Oh, we do offer feedback. We offer more feedback than was given that night. And so it was disappointing. It was kind of expected from my part, on my end, but it was disappointing that there was not more dialogue. It was all one-sided, and so.
Well, if the chief is listening now, I would offer, and through maybe the mayor's authority, some direction that the next time there's one of these meetings, that he present some information rather than sit there and just listen, because it was horrible.
It was billed as a listening session.
Did it meet your approval?
If that's what he wanted.
What did you want to do, Mayor?
I'm going to trust the chief.
You're doing a disservice to this community by continuing to trust the chief when he has demonstrated over and over again an inability to do what needs to be done.
To Mayor, the listening session, we have listening sessions at the end of basically every council meeting. And Mr. Kennedy, I saw you when you spoke, Mr. Kennedy, and you said that you were there to hear the chief's plan, and that you had expressed your concerns already, and many other people said that, but you said that you were here to listen to the chief, and there was no response to that. So but we have listening sessions at every council meeting. So we can phrase it and determine it's whatever we want it to be, or whatever we want to label it, but we have those, we're having one right now, so I'm sorry for cutting you off again.
A community involvement, a dialogue would be useful. It would be a measurable improvement over what happened on Thursday. While everyone was admiring the lights in the city going on, there was a lot of continued non-listening being done by the audience that should have been presenting information at that meeting. As you said, you got to control the narrative. Ain't nobody controlling that narrative. It's ugly. Fear. There was expressed a lot of fear by citizens of the police force, And if you look into the eyes of the police representatives who sat there on Thursday night, there is fear in their eyes also. And that fear has shown itself in terms of their reaction to members of the Police Advisory Council, of all things. Mr. McMasters, if you were there, you probably would have seen one of the representatives there who was recently arrested and received a misdemeanor charge for what I can perceive as being a misconduct and overaction on the part of one of the police officers. So things like that need to get fixed. If we can have hearings for all things DYS and Red Sage, we can probably have a hearing where the police chief addresses how the city is doing in terms of crime, how the city is improving, or what is his plan for doing that. Right now, we got nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Faruqi. I believe that's everybody I had signed in. Anything else from the council? All right, we are adjourned. Thanks.